Reports of a double homicide involving a beloved elementary school teacher and her 12-year-old son have sent shockwaves throughout the cities of Oxford and Water Valley. We'll have the latest details coming up. I'm Kelly Savage.
And I'm Shelby Sansone. Keep it local, keep it here. You're watching NewsWatch 99.
Two people were found dead this morning at their home in rural Oxford, according to local police. 43-year-old Carol Gary and her 12-year-old son, Patrick Gary Jr., were discovered shot to death after a 911 call at about 6 a.m. The Lafayette County coroner remained on the scene until nearly 10 o'clock this morning. Carol Gary was the principal of Davidson Elementary in Water Valley, and Patrick was a student at Oxford Middle School. Oxford Police, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigators, and the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department are currently working on the case. For a look at how family and friends of the Gary family are reacting to today's tragic news, let's send it over to NewsWatch reporter Brittani Acuff.
Yes, Kelly, this incident has hit home with many local residents here in Oxford. Family and friends, some coming all the way from Grenada, gather to find out answers and to console one another. I spoke to many family members and friends about Dr. Carol Gary, and I kept hearing about how great she was and how dedicated she was to her son, Patrick. Patrick Gary attended Oxford Middle School, where he was an honor student and had been selected to take the ACT for Duke University. Many people knew that Patrick said that he had a bright future and was a very sweet boy. While on the scene this morning, I spoke to a former colleague and fellow church member of Dr. Gary, Miss Calandra Morgan, and this is what she had to say about the kind of person Dr. Gary was.
I had the privilege of working with Dr. Gary about 2 years ago, and she was my administrator. She was a principal at Base Middle School. And I mean, from day one, I could tell that, I would have a connection with her because, she was just one who believed in the Lord, and she loved him, and she loved people. And even when she came, she had a passion for the children, and the children knew that. And she was just different, and she's really going to be missed. She was just a great person.
Morgan also said that Dr. Gary had made a deal with her son that if he got all A's, he would get an iPad, which he received. Good grades and great expectations were something close to Dr. Gary's heart. Being the principal of Davidson Elementary School, she came into contact with many people, including Water Valley School District Superintendent Kim Cresswell, who said, Dr. Gary was a quality person and had a great effect on every person that she met. She was a woman of faith and integrity. She has high expectations not only for students but for faculty as well. She was one of my most trusted friends and colleagues. This loss will be felt all over the Lafayette County area.
Brittani, thank you for all of your work on this story. I know you've been at the scene of the crime since very early this morning. Do you have any latest information? I know you've diligently been working in the newsroom.
Well, I spoke to OPD less than 30 minutes ago, and they said there is no new news. Everything is the same. It is a double homicide as of right now, and as soon as we find out more, we will definitely let all of you guys know.
Right. And I know that it's, rather concerning that they haven't announced any suspects in the case as of yet, but hopefully we'll receive those updates as soon as they, come to be. And you can follow at NewsWatch_99 for constant updates on this Oxford double homicide. Thank you, Brittani.
Thank you, Kelly.
For another look at our continuing team coverage, let's send it over to NewsWatch reporter Kels Johnson.
Oxford residents were shocked to learn of this morning's tragic news. Things of this nature are relatively unheard of in the small town of Oxford, Mississippi. This afternoon, I had the opportunity to speak with some Ole Miss students and hear about their reactions to today's tragedy. Take a look.
I saw it on Twitter earlier today because someone retweeted it, and I was really shocked because, coming to Ole Miss, you always hear about, how safe it is, and, my parents really like that about Ole Miss because, they heard that Oxford is a really safe town, and you really, never hear about that, such a small town especially.
Definitely always be careful with who you randomly talk to, who you randomly meet up with or whatever, because like I said, stuff like that can happen anywhere, even in a small town like this.
Yeah, that really scares me. I mean, just thinking about going out with my friends at night and stuff just makes me wonder, I guess, just walking home, like safety reasons, but wow, that really creeps me out.
We're within the top ranking safest schools nationwide, and so for something like this, like, I really don't imagine anybody even getting robbed. I mean, I've left shoes outside of my apartment, like my running shoes are like $150 a pair, and nobody's touched them. Like, literally somebody moved them just so they wouldn't get wet. And so for somebody to actually like get killed, for there to be like a real crime, I don't know, it's kind of scary.
To recap today's tragic news, the Oxford Police Department received a 911 call at approximately 6 a.m. this morning. Before 9 a.m., officials confirmed that multiple fatalities had occurred at 292 South Lamar Boulevard. Reports soon indicated that Water Valley Elementary School principal Dr. Carol Gary and her 12-year-old son Patrick Gary Jr. had been discovered shot to death. No current reports indicate that the suspect is in custody, but the Oxford Police Department is working together with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation and the Lafayette County Sheriff's Office in the ongoing investigation.
After the break, we'll give you the day's other major headlines, and we'll keep you updated on our continuing team coverage of today's tragic events.
But first, let's take a look at the weather with Bailey Frady in the Storm Watch Center.
We're currently at 59 degrees, skies are clear, and temperatures are low. Does Oxford have a cold weekend ahead? Stay tuned to find out as Storm Watch returns. Hello and welcome back to Storm Watch. My name is Bailey Frady, here to bring you all of the weather. We're currently at 59 degrees right now and skies are clear and as the sun sets on this November Friday. Moving on to look at our satellite radar, we have, as you can see, a weather channel is breezing up here through Texas and into Oklahoma. We have heavy rains down here, but as you can tell, Mississippi should be clear. Looking at our current temperatures across all of North Mississippi, we have it's high 50s and low 60s looking at all the way from South Haven over to Tupelo. Looking at temperatures tomorrow, things are looking a little warmer as we have our degrees all into the low and mid 60s. Tonight's forecast is 41 degrees as a low and it should be partly cloudy. Looking at tomorrow's high at 63 degrees and partly cloudy, should be a beautiful Saturday. As we move into our 5-day forecast, all into this weekend and early into next week, we have a high of 63 degrees and a low in the 40s. Looking into Tuesday, it gets a little bit colder with a high of 54 and a low of 25, but it should be sunny with just a few clouds and hopefully no rain.
So it should be pretty good weather tomorrow. How are you feeling about that?
Absolutely, should be beautiful and a little cool. It's going to be a perfect fall weekend.
It is, and it won't be cold enough. You know, November usually it gets pretty chilly, but I think it'll be a pretty good game day tomorrow.
Absolutely, Oxford's been lucky with our weather.
A typhoon blew into the Philippines this morning at 200 miles per hour. It is thought to be the fiercest typhoon in history, and it makes Hurricane Katrina look extremely weak. The storm is known as Yolanda, and it is a Category 5 storm. Around 12 million people were in the storm's path, and hundreds of flights have been canceled. Although it's such a powerful storm, only 4 people have been found dead. Over 7,000 people have been evacuated in the center. Citizens' electricity has been cut off, and homes and buildings were flattened.
At least 10 children have been paralyzed by an outbreak of polio in eastern Syria. The disease could spread to regions neighboring Syria, including Europe. 2 German disease experts say large numbers of Syrian refugees could bring the virus to places that have been polio-free for decades. U.S. polio experts are worried too. They say that countries around the world, including the U.S., should be on the lookout for signs of spread. According to experts, it could take over a year of silent transmission before the outbreak is detected in other countries.
Health insurance companies now have to cover mental illness and substance abuse. The new regulations from the Obama administration spells out how 5-year-old law will be administered. The Health and Human Service Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, said the rule should be put to an end. Discrimination faced by mental health patients through higher out-of-pocket costs or stricter limits on hospital stays to visits to the doctor. 23 executive actions have been either completed or have been made significant progress. The law requires insurance plans to cover mental illnesses and substance abuse like they cover physical illnesses. Well, President Obama apologized last night to Americans losing health insurance plans under the Affordable Care Act. During an exclusive interview with NBC News out of the White House, the president said the following: "I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me." Obama also said that his cabinet is working to close some of the holes and gaps that have caused millions of Americans to receive letters canceling their policies. The healthcare.gov website that was supposed to provide an easy portal for Americans to purchase health care has had technical issues since its launch. The president took greater responsibility for the issues, declaring that if the law isn't working, it's my job to get it fixed. The Internal Revenue Service issued $4 billion in fraudulent tax refunds last year to people using stolen identities. Some of the money even went out to other countries. The Treasury report said yesterday that the money went to places like Bulgaria, Lithuania, and Ireland. In the United States, more returns went to Miami than anywhere else. It also went to Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston. Just last year, the IRS stopped more than $12 billion in fraudulent refunds. The year before, they stopped only $8 billion. This shows that the IRS has stepped up efforts to stop identity theft, but thieves are getting more aggressive. The Treasury's Inspector General said fraud erodes taxpayers' confidence in the federal tax system. Well, the U.S. economy experienced an upswing in job creation last month, despite the 16-day federal government shutdown. 204,000 jobs were added in October, and the Labor Department report showed strong hiring in industries such as retail, manufacturing, hospitality, and healthcare. Despite the boom, the national unemployment rate inched up to 7.3% last month, in part due to furloughed government workers who were classified as jobless for the month. Many economists believe the furloughed workers are the factor behind the increase from 7.2% to 7.3% unemployment from September to October. Back in local news, the Rebels football matchup against Arkansas is tomorrow's focus, but there are some other events taking place around campus this weekend. Let's take a look. Tonight at 5 p.m., the women's basketball team will face off against Jacksonville State at the Tad Pad at 7:30. The men's team will take on Troy. The Grove will open tailgates and those setting up tents tonight at 9 p.m., but they shouldn't be out too late. The Walk of Champions will take a pretty place early tomorrow at 9 a.m. and kickoff against the Arkansas Razorbacks will be at 11:21 a.m. in the Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Tomorrow's Navy game and Ole Miss Athletics reminds fans to be loud and be early. For more, head over to Sudu Upadhyay in the Sports Watch Center. Sudu?
Thanks, Shelby. Coming up, we're going to talk some Ole Miss sports, so keep it here for Sports Watch, covering local sports like no one else. Welcome back. Tonight, the Ole Miss men's and women's basketball teams will open up their 2012 season. For more, let's send it over to Sports Watch reporter Quinn McCarthy, who's outside the Tad Pad. Quinn.
Thanks, Sudu. I'm standing out here in front of the Tad Smith Coliseum just hours before the men's and women's Rebel basketball teams tip off their 2013 regular season. At 5 o'clock p.m., the Lady Rebels will start things off against Jacksonville State. This will be head coach Matt Insel's first regular season game with the Lady Rebels. The Lady Rebels are led by senior Valencia McFarland, and they'll look this year to improve on last year's disappointing 9-20 finish. Now at 7:30, the Rebel men will take on Troy. Obviously, star Marshall Henderson will be serving his second of a 5-game suspension, so we're going to need a lot of young Rebels to step up. The Rebels are coming off their SEC championship season and a berth in the NCAA tournament, so they're going to need a lot of help from the young guns this year to achieve that level of success. So I look forward to seeing how the teams fare tonight. Let's head back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Quinn. The Ole Miss women's soccer team is currently in a heated battle in the SEC tournament semifinals. At halftime, the Rebels are down 2-1 to the Florida Gators. Leading goal scorer Rafael Souza has not logged a minute for the Rebs. It is not known why she isn't playing, but Sports Watch will keep you updated as we learn more. On the run, Tomorrow, the Rebels will take on the Arkansas Razorbacks at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. It will be the first 11:21 a.m. kickoff of the year, and the Rebels are hoping to become bowl eligible for the second year in a row. So let's take a look at my keys to victory for the Rebels tomorrow. Number 1, stop the Arkansas run game. The Razorbacks are a run-oriented team, and they've got a great running back in freshman Alex Collins. They haven't been too successful this season passing the ball, so as long as Ole Miss can clog up the holes in the trenches and contain the outsides, this should be an easy win. Number 2, no turnovers on offense. The Razorbacks have done a great job of holding on to the ball this season, and last week against Auburn, the Hogs held on to the ball for over 34 minutes to Auburn's 25. If Ole Miss turns the ball over, it might take some time for the Rebs to get the ball back. And number 3, don't get overconfident. If the Rebels go up big early, they need to keep playing, as Hugh Freeze would say, with a passion and a zeal. No matter how big of an early lead the Rebs take, they have to remember Arkansas is still an SEC team, and with some big runs, they can make it interesting. The Rebs will play tomorrow, but there were some big-time BCS implication games last night. Number 6 Baylor blew out number 10 Oklahoma, while number 5 Stanford got a dominating upset over number 3 Oregon. In the Big 12 matchup, the Baylor Bears never gave Oklahoma a chance, controlling the tempo of the game in a 41-12 romp. The Pac-12 matchup was all Stanford for the first 3 quarters until Oregon scored 20 unanswered points in a game that went down to the final 2 minutes. With the loss to Stanford, it looks like Oregon has lost their chance at a BCS championship, while Baylor is still alive but has some possible upsets coming up against Texas Tech or Oklahoma State. Now it's time for our weekly Pick'em segment where we give you our picks for the top 5 college football matchups of the weekend. At number 5, we have Vanderbilt at Florida. SportsWatch is going to take Vanderbilt on this one. The Commodores have been inconsistent this year, but against Georgia, they showed they can put up a fight against a top-tier SEC East team. With Florida's inability to score and a disappointing defense this season, Vandy might get the SEC East upset of the week. At number 4, we have 22-ranked Arizona State at Utah. Now, Utah has hung up there with the big boys this year, even defeating Stanford. That's why we're taking Utah on this one. Arizona State has been great in the passing game, but look out for Utah's secondary to make some key plays in this game. At number 3, we have 23-ranked Notre Dame at Pitt. We're going to take Pitt with the upset here. In their past 3 matchups, the Irish have won against the Panthers by a total of only 12 points. Pitt has lost 2 straight, and we look for them to get some confidence with a close victory against Notre Dame this weekend. At number 2, we have 13th ranked LSU at number 1 Alabama. Now, this game has been interesting in the past, but this year we're going to take Bama with a big-time victory. Bama's defense has been dominant this season, so look for their secondary to pick off Zach Mettenberger and control the LSU run game. And at number 1, we have Arkansas at Ole Miss, and here at SportsWatch, we think Ole Miss is a clear choice in this game. The Rebels have been extremely impressive on defense in the past few weeks, even with some injured starters not in the lineup. So with many of those starters coming back, we expect Ole Miss to stop the Arkansas run game and rack up some sacks on Arkansas quarterback Brandon Allen. That's all the time we have for Sports Tonight. For more, follow us on Twitter at SportsWatch_99. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but keep it here for NewsWatch, Lafayette County's only local newscast.
Former Chucky Mullins Award winner Jason Jones had successful seasons at Ole Miss, and since graduating, he continued to gain experience in an unlikely place. NewsWatch reporter DJ Jones has more on the story.
After a good senior season on the field and an even better season overseas, former Rebel Jason Jones looks back on his experience.
Since I finished here at Ole Miss with Ole Miss football, I've continuously trained. I went overseas, signed a contract overseas for a few months. I went over there and enjoyed myself, got some good film to bring back over here to the U.S. for the NFL or even the CFL. So as of right now, I'm just continuously training, staying in shape, keeping everything right, keeping my condition right. So whenever that call comes, I'll be ready for it.
Jones hopes his performance overseas can translate into a career in the NFL.
I believe that, you know, once I get an opportunity there, I believe that I can, you know, turn some heads and change the minds of people that have thought negatively of me and my career, you know, so far. So I just think that opportunity, you know, when it comes, that I'll definitely make an impression.
Although Jones has a slight fan base here and overseas, some people are still unaware of who he really is. So, who is Jason Jones?
Jason Jones is, as a player, is a leader. A guy who's always optimistic about anything, playing against anyone, willing to lay it on the line for anybody that wears that red, white, and blue here at Ole Miss. I am that guy, that leader that brings a lot to the table. I've never been the best here while I've been at Ole Miss, but I tell you what, when you put Jason Jones in the game, people know he's in the game.
Even after Jones finishes his football career, he wants to stay around the sport.
Life after football, man, the top of my list is to stay around football, actually. But I would love to coach. I want to start off at least, high school or college, because I feel like I have so much to share and to give, with these young men out here. And I'm just thankful for each and every opportunity I get to play a down of football, man. Going through injuries in and out of my career, but I'm just thankful that I have the opportunity to do so, man, when the time comes.
I'm DJ Jones for NewsWatch.
Stay tuned. NewsWatch 99 will be right back.
Welcome back. Brittany, we have just enough time to recap our audience a little bit on our top story today, which was that double homicide in Oxford. Can you give us a little bit more information? I know you've been working really hard.
Yes, no, this story is very tragic, like we've been saying. It affects not only the Oxford community, but the Water Valley community as well. 2 family members shot, one mother, one son, and I was at the scene at 10 o'clock this morning. The coroner was there, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigators, everyone was there working hard, doing what they can. They did not actually bring the bodies out until about 1:30 this afternoon. We are working hard to find out everything we can. There are no suspects in custody, actually no leads even. I talked to OPD, like I said earlier, just right before the show, and we are working diligently to find out. If you want to stay updated, you can follow me on Twitter at Brittani Acuff, and I will keep you updated as soon as I know anything I can find out.
Excellent, Brittany. Well, thank you for your very diligent reports on this. We're going to try to keep our audience updated as well at NewsWatch_99. Thank you, Brittany. Well, that's our show for tonight. If you only caught part of the show, make sure to watch us again at 10 on Channel 99. For NewsWatch, I'm Kelly Savage. Good night.